All right, let's begin by re-importing our two CSV datasets. So now our two series variables are back in their original order. And in this lesson, we'll explore Python's in keyword. And this can be a great resource for checking whether a value exists in either a series index or among the actual values of a series. But let's begin with a review of the Python in keyword in its general Python use. So if I have a list like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the in keyword returns a Boolean value that compares the value you provide to the values in the list. It's going to return true if it exists among those values and false if it does not. So for example, if I check if 3 is in that list of 5 elements, it's going to return true because it is one of the values. Conversely, if I put in something like 100, it's going to return a Boolean of false because 100 does not exist among my 5 list values. And you would think the process works the exact same way among a series, but there is one big caveat. So I'm going to begin by previewing the first 3 rows of my Pokemon series with the head method. And you can see that the very first value here is Bulbasaur. So if I write Bulbasaur, and I remember that capital B, and I write in Pokemon, you would think that it would return true because it's obviously right there at the very top. However, we're going to get a false. And the reason for this is because by default, Pandas is going to look among the index labels, not the actual values within the series. So it's looking at those numeric index, 0, 1, 2, and so on, and it's not finding the string Bulbasaur, and thus it's returning false. And I can prove this by replacing Bulbasaur with an actual index position, such as 100, and it's going to return true. Now this code right here is actually identical to writing 100 in Pokemon.index. And the reason for this, as you may recall, the index attribute gives us an object that represents all of the values that are stored within the index. So although it's giving us that kind of shortened description of a range index that starts at 0 and stops at 721, it actually is a bundle behind the scenes of all of the index numbers that make up our index in the Pokemon series. So when we're checking for 100 in the Pokemon index, it is returning true because it is finding the value 100 among these index labels. And as you may guess, we can use the values attribute from a series and check against that in order to check whether a value exists in a series. So instead of comparing in Pokemon, we can first take the values attribute to give us a big array of all of the values within that series. And now if we check Bulbasaur in Pokemon.values, we're going to get a true. Similarly, if we do something like Pikachu, which we know is a Pokemon, that's going to return true. Similarly, if we do something like Charizard, that's a Pokemon value, it's going to return true. And of course, if we come up with something that does not exist as a string, such as Digimon, that's going to return false. So whenever you just need to do a quick check of whether a value exists within a series, you don't really care about its position or its location, you just want to confirm that it does exist or does not exist, you can use the in keyword. Just make sure to add that extra attribute .values if you actually want to check among the values of a series. If you want to check among the index, you can just write the series as is, as we see up here. Or we can use the index attribute more specifically just to give the code a little bit more clarity, but structurally these two return the exact same result. So the in keyword allows us to check whether a value exists in a series, and in the upcoming lessons we'll actually explore how to extract specific values from a Pandas series.